In the last class, we had seen the lambda map and filter functions, and even we had seen some things regarding the destructors and garbage collectors, right? So in today's class, we will talk about the OS commands. Actually, there is a module called as os.py. So Python people had created a module called as os.py. Then they had created some functions in that module, def get cwd, let's say def chdir. Like that, they had created some functions in that OS module. The functions of OS module are called as OS commands. The functions of OS module are called as OS commands. They are used to perform operations at OS level. These commands are used to perform operations at OS level. So what I will do is I will open Python in the command mode. So I will open Python in the command mode. What I will do is I will import the OS module. Import OS. So, if I want to use the variables and functions of a module, then I have to import that module, right? So what I'm doing is I'm just importing the OS module because I want to use the functions of the OS module. Now, os.getCwd. What the getCwd function will do? GetCwd means what? It's nothing but what the current working directory. Current working directory. See, current working directory means what? The files and folders of which folder are being pointed out. That is nothing but the working directory. The files and folders of which folder will be pointed out. That is nothing but the working directory. Actually, when I hit enter, it will show the working directory as Python 3832. I told this point in the very initial classes. So when we install Python, what will happen? In the C drive, in the users folder, in the user folder, in the app data folder, in the local folder, in the programs folder, Python folder is created. In that Python 3832 will be there, correct? So in C users, user app data, local programs, Python folder is created as soon as I install Python. And even in that Python folder, one folder will be available. That is nothing but Python 3832. So that is nothing but the working directory. That means what? The operating system is pointing out to the files and folders of this Python 3832 folder. Okay, get CWD means what? Current working directory. So this folder is being pointed out. That means what all the commands we apply subsequently, those will be applied on this particular folder. Fine. So nextly, what we are going to do is we are getting like this. We are applying this list dir function. os.list dir. What the list dir function will do? It will list all the files and folders from the working directory. Working directory is Python 3832, right? So whatever the files and folders available in the working directory, so those will be shown like Ashi, Anchal, Ona, etc. So by default, like it will take the working directory and it will get the files and folders of that. For example, if you put like this, if you put Ana, then what will happen? In the current working directory, that is in Python 3832 folder, it will search for the Ana folder. It will search for the Ana folder. Yes, it is there, right? In that, whatever the files and folders are available, those will be shown here. See, 7 evening, all programs, cats, em, etc. So what I'm saying is if I don't give anything, if I don't put any parameter in the list dir, then the files and folders of current working directory will be listed out. If you put a parameter, if you give the name of the folder to the list dir function, if you supply the name of the folder to the list dir function, then that particular folders, it will search for the current, it will search for that folder in the current working directory, and it will get the files and folders of that particular folder. It will list the files and folders of that particular folder. Okay, so I will retrieve them like a list. So os dot list dir of Anna. So for in PyCharm to print, we will write print function, right? But here print is not required. Directly we can put X, then what will happen? So the data will be retrieved like a list. Then I will be able to perform the list operations. For example, X dot count of cats. For how many times that the cats folder is there? Only for one time, of course. So cats is there for one tab, right? So I will be getting one. When I take them in a list variable, then I will be able to perform the list operations. Okay, so now what I will do, I would like to create a folder in the working directory. So what is your working directory? What is the current working directory? In 3832, right? So I would like to create a folder in the working directory. For that, we have mkdir function, make directory. So what I will give us test 45. Sorry, os dot mkdir test 45. It is already there. It is, then we will see test 46. So now what happened? A folder with the name test 46 is created. If I apply the list dir function, then I will be able to see the test 46. Fine. So see, test 46 folder will also be available. In 3832, this test 46 will also be there. Here. Fine. So 1926, it is created just now. So this, what is that? mkdir. Mkdir is used to create a folder in the working directory. Fine. So now what we will do is, we will switch from 3832 to Anna. Actually, we will be working in this Anna folder. That means we will try to work on the Anna folder. Actually, what is the current working directory? 3832. Now I have to change from 3832 to Anna. In 3832, Anna is there, right? So to that I want to switch to. So here, now what I have to do is I have to use chdir function, os.chdir Anna. So now if I apply the working directory, it will show that Anna. It is now taking Anna as a working directory. That means what? It is pointing out to the files and folders of Anna folder. So how to switch from one directory to another directory means chdir, change directory. So if I apply list dir function, Anna is my working directory, right? So it will be listing all the files and folders from the Anna folder. So it will be listing everything from that particular folder. Okay. So now we will see other functions. Os dot path dot get size.
Harika, for the change directory, we don't need to define the complete path.
No, already we are in 3832, right? We want to switch to Anna. By default, it will search in the current working directory for that Anna and it will switch. If you want to change to a different drive, let's say in the eDrive test folder is there, to that you want to change means, then you have to define the path in the quotation.
And we use these, okay, and we use these two backslash, right? When we
have to use
switch to
double. Yeah. So after some time, we will switch to different drive also. I will show that.
Okay.
Fine. Thank you. Yeah. So here, if we go to Anna folder, let's consider 1.txt file. What is the size of it? See, it is showing 130 bytes, correct? Type text document size 130 bytes. So we can just get like this: voice.path.get size. See, all these commands will take the data like strings. So 130 bytes it is saying. So voice.path.get size, it is nothing but 130 bytes. And then now what I will do is I will write like this: voice.path.access. What the access function will do? If the supplied file or folder is existed in the working directory, then it will give true. Access is a Boolean function. Access is a Boolean function. It will give true. It will give true if the supplied file or folder is existed in the working directory. So this 1.txt is existed in the working directory, right? So that's why it is going to be true. For example, I will give quest.path dot like this. This is not there in the working directory. This folder or this file is not there, so it's going to be false. Now s.path dot is dir. Is dir is a Boolean function. It will give true if the supplied parameter is a folder in the working directory. Is F1 a directory or folder in the working directory? Yes, it is a folder, right? So it's going to be true. For example, I will give 1.txt. The one that you are supplying is a folder. No, one is a file, right? So it will give false. Then os.path.isFile. IsFile will give true. The supplied parameter is a file in the working directory. If you give F1, then it's going to be false because F1 is not a file. It is a folder. Fine. So what I am saying is, access will give true if the supplied file or folder is existed in the working directory. Isdir will give true. Isdir will give true if the supplied argument is a folder in the working directory. IsFile will give true if the supplied argument is the file in the working directory. Fine. Access will give true if the supplied parameter is a if the supplied parameter is existed, that's that let it be a file or folder, there is no problem. Isdir means what? When it will give true if the supplied argument is a folder. IsFile means what? If the supplied argument is a file in the working directory. Fine. Now actually we have a file called as 1.txt, right? So there is some data in that. We would like to read the data here. Then what we will do, we will write like this: os.system So see, it is opening the file here. os.system1.txt means what? That file will be opened here. But let's say we don't want the file to get opened. I would like to see the data in the file directly here. Then what I will do? I will write like this. Oh, shit. Let me open again. Something went wrong every time this is coming. Okay, so I will import the OS module again. And what I will do, I will write like this: os.getCWD. By default it is Python 3832. os.chdir. I want to switch to ANA. os.getCWD. We are in the ANA folder. In the ANA folder, we have 1.txt. Yeah, Python is there. Python 3832 is there. In that, we are trying to read the data from the 1.txt file, right? So oh, 1.txt is deleted. Okay, no problem. We will create some other file. Okay. In ANA, we are in 3832, but 1.txt is there in ANA. Yeah, so fine, this one. So we are trying to read the data of this file. Let's go back to the Python command mode. os.system. Which one we want to read? 1.txt. Then see, the file will be opened here. We can read the data from here directly. Otherwise, what will happen, like if we want to read the data from the file, like and type and get it typed here, then we will add the type word, a word called as type. So then see, the file will not be open, the data will be typed over here. If we don't put to type, then the file will be open. If we put to type, then what will happen? The data in the file will be read and displayed over here. File will not be open. So this is the system function basically. Now I want to switch to a different drive. Let's say in the E drive, I have test folder, I guess. Yeah. So to this, I would like to switch. So the same CHDAR function I have to use.
Harika,
Uh-huh.
just one quick question.
Mhm.
So when we are reading the file and for by mistake or you open, I try to read a very big file.
Oh,
So if I want to come out, what button we or key we should press? Escape or something? Or
where you are reading actually?
so I was just trying to read this one big file. One file I did not know that it's a pretty big file, and it just keep running. Like it's keep reading that file. If I want to come out from that, should I just close Python or do something else?
Actually, you can stop the program in that case. Just use the exit function. I will tell about the
Exit.
exit function. Yeah, exit
Okay.
function.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. Okay. So yeah, so now what we are going to do here, see, this is the simple exit function, which will stop everything.
Yep. Yep. It worked.
Yeah. Okay. So what is the point? I want to switch from the, see, basically I'm in the 3832 folder of C drive. Now I would like to move to the E drive test folder of E drive, the same CHDIR. CHDIR is not like to switch from files and folders of the same drive. Like we can switch from a folder from one drive to a different folder of different drive. So now one thing we have to remember, always we have to use double slash to perform switching to indicate the path. So now when I apply the working directory, it should show like E drive test, correct? Now the same thing, when I apply when I apply the list to dir, then it will be showing everything from that particular uh, eDrive test folder, like this, the eDrive test folder only. Fine. So actually what we had discussed, just we will brief. Fine. So what we had seen here is like get CWD. What the get CWD will do? Current working directory, the files and folders of which folder are being pointed out by voice, that will be the working directory. So that will be shown to you. List dir, if you don't put any parameter to the list dir, then by default it will take the working directory files and folders. It will display the list of files and folders of the working directory. If you put some folder in the list dir function, then it will search for that folder in that working directory, and it will get everything, get the names of list of files and folders from that. So the remove function, if you put a file or folder in the remove function, then that will be removed from the current location or from the working directory. Rename means what? Old file name to new file name, or old folder name to new folder name. This is used to rename. And then mkdir, you know, mkdir is used to create a folder in the working directory. Hdir is used to switch from one directory to another directory. It may be in the different same drive or in the different drives, no problem. So isdir will take the parameter. If the supplied parameter is a folder, then it will give true. If the supplied parameter is a file, then isFile will give true. Access will give true if the supplied file or folder is existed in the working directory. Get size means what? It will be getting the size of the file or folder that you supply to that. System means what? Voice.system. The file name, if you give, then what will happen? The data in the file will be read and shown for you. If you don't put this type, then the file is open. If you put type, then the data in that file will be typed onto that particular prompt, the Python prompt you are using right there. So can we do the same thing in PyCharm? Definitely yes. So we will be just importing the OS module here. In PyCharm, for everything we have to write print. So we have to write os.getCWD. Then what is going to happen? Like it will show the current project as the like it will consider the current project as a working directory. See users, user, PyCharm projects, modules. So this will be the working directory, and print os dot list dir. Then what it will do? It will show everything from the current project. It will show everything from the current project. Access to calculator module, my file, one.txt. So like that, it will be list dir in the sense like for aspirate modules is the current working directory. It will show everything from that. So we can just do this in PyCharm also. So yeah, these OS commands are used to perform operations at OS level. Small operations we can do instead of going to a particular folder, creating manually. Just then and there itself, while writing code in PyCharm, we can just create a folder or remove a folder. We can go to that folder and see whatever is the small OS kind of operations, OS level operations we can perform. The operating system level operations we can perform. So that is a simple concept they are giving. Fine. And also we will see something called as the sys module here in this context. So we will use sys module in the context of command line arguments. So what are command line arguments basically means? Arguments that are given at the time of program execution. Arguments given at the time of program execution are called as command line arguments. Actually, at the time of program execution, we will give arguments. Yes, we will give, but how we can give? How can we give arguments? How we are running the code actually by hitting the run button, right? Then where we have to give arguments or how we have to give arguments. So let's see one example. Firstly, actually what I will do is I will take this code. So when I hit run button, see how to execute this code or how to run this code means by going with the run button. When I hit the run button, the code is executed. But where I have to pass arguments? How can I pass arguments or where I have to pass arguments? Actually, there is some other way to run the program using which we can pass the arguments. So what is that? We have to go to view, tool windows and terminal basically. So we have to go to view, tool windows and terminal. So here is the view and here is the tool windows and here is the terminal. See, view, tool windows and terminal. So here we will be running the program by using the command Python. What is that? 1.py, right? Your file name is 1.py. 1.py. Then we'll pass some arguments. See, basically, this is the way to execute any program. For example, Python. See, if I have this access to, how I will run, Python space file name, Python space access to .py. So this is the, when you hit the run button, this is the actual command that is internally going to be executed. So when you give Python 1.py, what you are saying, like you are saying that Python virtual machine, please come and execute the code in 1.py. Python virtual machine, please come and execute the code in 1.py file. Then what will happen? That code will be processed. For example, when you hit run button, this is the internal command. Python virtual machine will be launched and then your one is processed. Okay, so this is the time where I'm executing my code, right? Now, if I pass some arguments, then they are called as command line arguments. See, this 3, 4, and hello are called as command line arguments. So when we pass some arguments at the time of program execution, then they are called as command line arguments. See, what happened here? What is the intention of this program? I have to store these arguments and display them in the form of a list. So what is the requirement? I have to get the command line arguments and I have to display them back to the user. Fine. So where they will be copied, what will happen if you pass command line arguments? Such points we will see. When you pass command line arguments, then what will happen? Automatically an argument vector with the name argv will be created, and Your command line arguments will be copied into that particular argument vector. So 3, 4, and hello, right? That you had given. By default, your file name will also be sent. So even your file name will also be stored in that argv or the argument vector. Like this it will be. So it will also be having the indices. So 0, 1, 2, 3, like that. So what I am saying is, when you pass command line arguments, automatically an argument vector with the name argv will be created, and the arguments that you pass will be copied into the argument vector. Even the file name, the normal.py file name will also be stored in that argument vector that is in the zeroth index. Okay, now what is my task actually? I want to get the arguments and display back onto the monitor. That is the only intention of mine. See, the actual arguments will be from the first index. I will ignore the zeroth index value. So from first index to till end, I will capture all the arguments. Actually, argv is a property from sys module. Sys is also, see, ABC is a predefined module. Like that, voice is a predefined module. Sys is a module. So sys.argv. So I'll be accessing the argv variable or property from the sys module name dot variable name or property name, right? Sys.argv. From first index to the starting index is 1. The end index I kept is what? I don't put any end index. That is by default, it will take till end, right? So from first index to till end, whatever is there, that is going to be considered. So from first index to till end, what are available, those will be considered. That is 3, 4, 5. First index to till end means what? 3, 4, 5 will be captured into X, and those will be displayed in the form of a list by default. See, I will tell the advantage of this, okay? No worries, but let's try to understand the concept firstly. So that's why I got everything displayed back. So what is the intention of the program? I have to accept command line arguments and I have to display them back to the user. So when I pass the command line arguments, then automatically an argument vector with the name argv will be created, and the arguments you are passing will be stored into that. So from actually in the zeroth index, the file name will be there, but there is nothing to be done with the file name. I want to show the actual arguments entered by the user back to him. So from first index to till end, the actual arguments of the user will be there. I will be capturing into X and I'm just displaying them back by printing them. See? Okay, so we will see one more example on this. Okay. So now what I will do is, I will import the sys module basically. Sys means the system module. So sys.r, okay, I will be just telling the task like intention of the code firstly. See, what is the intention? If the number of arguments received are equal to 3, then I have to add them up and I have to display the addition result. If it is not equal to 3, if it is less than 3 or more than 3, then I should simply print a message saying invalid arguments. If the number of arguments are 3, then I have to, what I have to do? Then I have to add them up and display the result. If the number of arguments are not equal to 3, then what I should do? Then I should display a message like invalid arguments. Invalid arguments. Okay, so now what I will do, I will run this program again. So I will be giving the arguments like this 3 to 1. So the number of arguments are 3, right? So I should get them added. So it should say like sum equal to 6. Okay, let's try to analyze the code. When we pass the command line arguments, then what is going to happen? An argument vector with the name argv will be created and the arguments will be stored into that. We know that point already. So by default in the zeroth index, the file name will be there. So 1.py is there. So 3 is there, 2 is there, and 1 is there. Like this we have. So again the indices will come. So like this is 0, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. Fine. Now what I will do, see, number of arguments are equal to 3 or not, I have to check. The actual arguments entered by the user will be from the first index, right? So from first index to till end, I will capture all the arguments into x. So 1 from first index to till end, means 10 point means till end it will take, right? So first index to till end means what? 3 to 1. 3 to 1 is captured into x. What is the length of that x? 3, right? So 3 is equal to 3 is true. Length function will get the length. So what I am saying is, in this x, we have from first index to till end, that is 3 to 1. 3, 2, 1. So what is the length of x basically? It is 3 because 3 elements are there. So 3 is equal to 3 is 2. I will enter the cursor will enter into the if block. By default, so very important point, by default the arguments in the argument vector will be in the form of a string, or every argument will be in the form of a string. So into x also the string data came. So 3 is a string, 2 is a string, 1 is a string. If I directly put x of 0 plus x of 1 plus x of 2, they will be concatenated. So that's why I will convert the x string data into integer data. So x of 0 is 3 that I'm converting to integer. X of 1, 2 converting to integer. X of 2, 1 converting to integer and storing into this variable, and I'm just displaying that. Fine. So what I'm doing from first index to till end, whatever is there, I'm putting into x. If the length of that x is 3, then I will convert x of 0, x of 1, x of 2 to integers and I will add them up. Otherwise, if the length is not 3, then I will say invalid arguments. Fine. So now we will see the real-time purpose, like why do we use command line arguments, in what situations we will be using that. Let's understand. Let's say I had written a program that can add two numbers. So what I had done here, I'm passing 2, 3. You know, the sum of sum.py is in argv of 0. This 2 is at argv of 1. That 3 is at argv of 2. Correct? So sys.argv of 1, argv of 2, I'm storing into AB, converting that AB into integers, and I'm adding and displaying. You know, 2 and 3 will be in the form of string. I will be converting them to integer in order to get them added. See, this is the program created by me. I'm a developer. So what I will do, I will give both the positive numbers and check whether the program is producing the correct results or not. Then what I'm doing, I'm giving the first positive number, then firstly the negative number, then positive number, and I will test whether the program is giving the correct results or not. First positive, then negative. Checking whether the program is giving correct results or not. Both negatives. Checking whether the program is giving correct results or not. Like that, I will be passing lot of inputs. I will be able to pass lot of inputs very, very quickly, and I will be able to test my application, test my program. So is it the purpose of command line arguments? That means, is it used to take the input from the user? Generally, to take the input, you will use input function, casting, if required, all such things. Instead of that, we will be asking the user, will we be asking the user to post the input like this here? No, not at all. This is not at all the purpose. Can user have your program? Can he pass the input like this? No, right? He don't have Python or PyCharm. He will not have your program. He cannot pass the input like this. This is not for the users. See, if you want to collect the input from the user, then you have to take input function. But if you, the developer, want to pass lot of inputs just for testing purpose and all, then instead of taking input for him also, just he can pass the inputs as command line arguments and he can test his application or program. Simply what I am saying is, if you want to collect the data from the user, then use input function, because user cannot pass the arguments like this. You don't have your program. If you want to pass, then instead of messing up the code, instead of making the code complicated and taking input and all, just pass your values as command line arguments so that you can test your application quickly. So to get the inputs from the user, we have to use what? The input function itself. If you want to pass, just pass through command line arguments, which will make the job easy. So this is meant for developers only. If we want to pass several inputs quickly and we want to test our application, then we will use it. So this -2, -3, all these are the user-defined arguments, right? Our own command line arguments. But there are a lot of predefined command line arguments. So for example, run server is there, which is used to run the server. That is a predefined command line argument in Django. So Priyadarshini may remember that because she's listening Django. Yes, Priyadarshini, we had used run server, right? You're there?
Yes, yes, Sarika.
Yes, right? Yeah. Okay. So make migrations command line argument to enable the alterations in the database. So create super user to create the administrator. So like that, there are a lot of predefined command line arguments too. So these are our own command line arguments, but the predefined command lines arguments are also there. Fine. So we will rejoin once, please.